guys, and welcome back to my channel, Keep On Up with Kels. This video is a story time on when a strange man walked up to me claiming to be my father. Okay, so I was like in the 7th grade, I believe. I was still young, and I was walking home with a group of my friends. We all lived in the same area, and we walking one day. This man walks up to us and he's like, "Excuse me, can I ask you guys a question?" So we all stopped and I'm like, "Okay, what's the question?" He shows us a picture, like he flips his phone and he was like, "Do you guys know this girl?" And in the picture, it's a picture of me and him, but it's an old picture. So like everybody knows that's me. So they looking at the picture and they look up at me. And I look at the picture and I look up at him. So now I'm trying to see like if I can remember him. And like I remember taking the picture. I remember everything that happened that day because it was just like that day. Let me tell you about that day. So I'm at my aunt's house. I'm at my aunt's house or whatever, right? And I'm with my mom and it's this man there. He just keeps staring at me. He's staring at me. He's smiling or whatever. So off rip, I'm like, he's moving kind of weird. Like I don't like that energy. Feel me? So I'm asking my mom about him. She's like, "That's your uncle. That's your uncle. Just ignore him or whatever." Feel me? And I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And like he just keeps talking to me. He's asking me stuff. He's smiling, yada yada yada, in my face. He looking at my feet, telling me my feet look exactly like his, etc. I'm like, okay. So keep in mind, I was still young. I was like around like 7 or 8 in this picture. Like you could tell I was young. And so like we all in the house and we chilling or whatever, and he asked my mom, no, he asked me to take a picture with him. And then I look at my mom and I'm like, "Can you want me to take the picture with him?" Like, yes or no? She was like, "Go ahead, go take the picture." So I took the picture. We were standing on the steps and I don't even gotta say too much. Insert picture here. Y'all go see the picture. Like you could tell from how I look in the picture, like I didn't want to take the picture. Like I just didn't look happy. Like I look either scared, I don't know, it just ain't look right. Like the picture was looking crazy or whatever, right? So yeah, that's the picture he was showing. So I'm like, "That's me." He like, "Can you come over here, let me talk to you real quick?" And I'm like, "For what? Like what happened?" He's like, "Let me talk to you." My friends wasn't jacking it and I wasn't jacking it, so I'm like, "No, I'm not." Like, for me, you just showed all of us this picture, you might as well, because whatever you tell me in that little corner by the tree, I'm gonna walk back and they're gonna ask me what he said, so we might as well just say it in front of all of us already. So and he's like, "I'm your father." And I'm looking at him like, "What?" And he goes on, he proceeds to start talking. He's like, "There's no father's name on your birth certificate. That's because I wasn't there to sign it. Da 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 da." He's like, "Oh, him and my mom broke up. And then she took me away, and he ain't know where we was at. He ain't know how to get in contact with her. Yada yada yada." Then proceeded to tell me that my aunt told him what school I was going to, where I lived, which way I walk home from school. Cause honestly, there's 2 ways I could walk home from school. But because the school was like 4 blocks away from my house, obviously I'm taking the longest route possible. So we always used to take the longest route, like, feel me? So he was waiting at the corner. Like, it's so real. He was waiting at the corner. Like, if somebody had told you, like, this is the route that I take to walk home, and if you just had to pick the best corner to catch me at, he happened to pick the best corner because it's like, this is my block. He's on my block, but he's at the corner. And that's where, like, that's the end point for most of the group. Like, after that block, some people turn right, some people turn left, some people go straight, some people walk down the block, for me. So, for me, it's where we split up at. So, you know, when you about to split up, y'all stand around and y'all talk for a few. So, we was standing, we was talking. And he just walked up to us. And he's like, "I see y'all in uniform. Do y'all know this girl?" And that's how, for me. But, yeah. So he proceeds to keep talking like, "Oh, my mom, this." He's name dropping family members. Of course, I know my family members. So he proceeds to keep talking about whatever. He's saying stuff. At this point, take out my phone. I call my mom. I'm like, "Mommy, who's my dad? Who's my father? There's this man here and he's claiming to be my dad." She's like, "Give him the phone." I gave him the phone. he's talking to her. He's saying her name, like my mom's government name. And my mom, her name is not no common name at all. It is very uncommon. I've never heard anyone. Feel me? I've seen people with like Lynn, but my mother's name is Lenicia. I've never seen nobody with that name before. So he's calling her by her government name. So I'm like, okay, you must know her because this is not like no name you could just get off the back of a cereal box or something. Like, feel me? So, and we all standing around in a circle and we talking and I'm crying. Like, my friends are just like, don't cry, whatever. They hugging me or whatever. The boys that I was with, like, you want us to beat them up? Like, that's just how they was. Like, you want us to beat them up? We could go beat them up for you right now. I'm like, no, it's no point. Like, feel me? So he passes back the phone. And my mom, she's like, go home right now. I'm going to go call your father. Meaning my stepfather. So, I call him and I'm like, where are you? It's this man and he's claiming to be my dad. And he was like, where are you? I'm gonna come get you or whatever. Like, I'm gonna come. And I'm like, I'm down the block because I was like 3 houses away from my building. So, he was like, I'm on my way. And he got there within like 5 minutes. Come to find out, he was at the mall. And the mall is not 5 minutes away. The mall is far. But he was at the mall. He got back to the house within like 5 minutes. And when he came, the man drove off. So later on, my mom came home from work. And we sat down and we was talking, whatever. And she was telling me, she was like, yes, he's your father. But don't let what he's saying to you fool you. He didn't want to be around. When I called him, because she said, however she contacted him, I don't really remember. She called him, texted him, somebody else called him, whatever. When they got in contact with him to tell her that she was in labor, he said, he sent his friend. And his excuse was he had just parked his car and he didn't want to lose his parking spot. But if you come into the hospital because someone you slept with is about to give birth, obviously you're going to be there for some hours. You're not about to be there for like 2 minutes and then you leave. You're going straight back home. So you got to worry about finding a parking spot. No, you're going to be there for a few hours. Well, almost a full day if you actually cared, you know. Feel me? But he didn't care. And like she was just telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm gonna form my own opinion. I'm gonna take what you're saying in consideration because, you know, everyone has their own experiences with people. Like, you know, like, it's some people, like, I bet you it's somebody that would be like, oh, Ted Bundy wasn't a bad person or something like that. Like, you know, like, for me, like, you know, everybody has, like, different experiences with people. So I'm like, maybe that was the experience with him. Let's see if I could form my own opinion of him and see how he moved with me. And I got to know him, and it was just like, you know, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I got in contact with him and we were speaking, and like I feel like I want to say like 2-3 weeks later or whatever the case may be, he like came and got me, and I went to their house and I was spending some time with them. And when I got there, like, he had cameras in his house at that, like cameras in the crib and all types of weird, like, for me, I just didn't feel comfortable. Like, I felt so out of place. And it was maybe it is like a mind over matter thing. Like, I was just thinking that I don't belong here. So so, you know, like, if you keep thinking I don't belong here, obviously you're never gonna feel comfortable there because you keep telling yourself that this is not where you're supposed to be. So maybe I went in there with the wrong mindset, but I didn't like being there. Like, it was nothing he did. I just felt out of place. Like, maybe, and like, he was trying too hard. Like, he was trying to be the father figure off the bat. Like, he didn't try to get to know me. He didn't try to figure me out as a person, like, see what my likes, my dislikes. And, you know, like, he was just like, I don't want you wearing weaves. At the time, I wasn't wearing wigs and stuff. I was wearing box braids and feeding cornrows and stuff like that. Like, feel me? And, like, regular little girl stuff. Like, short little nails. Because I'm not 6, I'm getting older. I'm in 7th grade, 8th grade, whatever grade I was in. It was either the last year of my middle school or the second to last year. But regardless, after middle school comes high school. I'm getting older. I'm not a little kid no more. Like, I know I'm a kid, but I'm not a little kid. Like, I'm a teenager now. I'm about to be a whole teenager. I was like 13. Like, feel me? Fresh teenager, but still a teenager. And like, he was just like, I don't want you wearing nails. I don't want you wearing weave, this, that, and the third. And I was just like, this is what I'm comfortable in. This is what I want to wear. And I don't see the problem with it. Like, I wasn't looking grown for my age. I still looked my age. Like, you could tell that I was a little girl. Like, of course, y'all know I got pictures and stuff. I'm going to find them and put them in there. I'm going to have to find, like, I sent my mother a picture of one of the cameras in the kitchen. Like, there was a camera in the kitchen cameras in the bedroom. In the living room, there was a camera as well. And it was just like, I didn't like that. I felt like I was being watched. I felt like, I don't know. I just felt out of place. I didn't belong there in my head. But I will do a part 2, but y'all gotta get this video to like 15,000 views. If we get to 15,000 views, I will do a part 2 and let y'all know as to why I don't speak to him, how I found some of my siblings, because he has 7 kids and he introduced me to 3 of them. So, you know, I'll tell y'all that in another story. But, you know, if y'all want part 2, get this video to 15,000 views and like 500 likes. And I don't really care too much about how many comments, because, you know, feel me? But part 2 would be screenshots of arguments between me and my older brother, he is about 40 years old at this age. I mean, well, this year, he's about 40 years old now. Text messages between me and my dad. I don't know if I could find it, but I know for a fact that I wrote a memoir about it. Like, you know, freshman year, I wrote a memoir about me meeting him. I'm going to see if I can find that and, like, pull it up and, like, read it or whatever. But part 2 is more spicier than this. Like, it was parts where I was arguing with my older brother and he was telling me about my mom. And he was talking about something. Oh, he was trying to play my mother. And I was telling him about his moms and his life and how he a deadbeat father just like our father and all types of stuff. Like, that's where the spicy stuff come in, because, you know, that's when you get to know people and they start stepping on your toes a little bit. But if you like this video, leave a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Toodles.